everybody, welcome back to Embrace the Journey with Sharon, and I have a repeat guest today. If you saw the show last week, I had Valerie Fox on, and we were talking about breaking out of the corporate box and following your bliss and your heart and your soul and what I think I want to say most of us know inside of us when there's we tap into it, our purpose and our passion and all of that. And a lot of people keep it in that nice little box. And there's some wild and crazy people like me and my guest Valerie Fox, times two, back for a second one, that just decide that box is just too confining and life is too important and too short, and we decide to live it. And we're hoping that if you saw last week's show, you're going to watch this week's show and you'll decide how to live it for yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about today, a little bit more about how Valerie went into it, what it is that what steps that you can take to kind of figure out, well, what is it for me and where do I want to go and what makes me happy and all of that. So welcome back, honey.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
I appreciate it. If I can help inspire your viewers in any way or give them a little bit of, what'd you call it? Bravado to be able to like take the next step.
Yeah, and Val's when she broke out of the box and started her own I don't know, I hate using the word business because it seems more, it's so personal when you end up being a light worker or somebody who knows what you're doing. But the name of what she's created for herself and is expanding into the world and touching people with is the Soul, S-O-U-L, Repair Shop. I love it.
Yeah, I always have to explain that to some people.
Listen, just as I said Soul Repair Shop, somebody's hammering. I think that's awesome. The universe is very comical. All right, well, hopefully you won't get too loud, but
if
anyway.
I had a hammer.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, anyway.
Seriously, folks. All right, so the Soul Repair Shop. Yeah.
Yeah, we were, I know we were talking last week about, kind of how it came to fruition for me. And I really, trust was like my big message. And the message I got this morning, I was meditating, and the message I got this morning was really about inspiring your viewers to follow their heart's desire and to find their heart's desire was really the huge message that I wanted to bring today.
That's a great message. And there's so many different ways to do it, and we've had it on, just in my guests being on the show and them sharing their personal stories is one way that I think people pick up on it. And there are other we did a show a while back on vision boards, which is another way that people can kind of try to figure it out, well, what am I attracted to visually? And sometimes that helps kind of spark it for them. But, do you want to share a little bit about how you navigated yourself down that path, or river, climb the mountain, whatever?
I allowed the river. I quit pushing the river and I allowed it to flow. But I think what's so important is to not judge anything that you are dreaming about or wanting. So many people are like, well, I don't have an education to do that. I can't do that. Or who am I? Who am I to know how to do that? But if you really expand out to the great energy being that you truly are, and you just think about everything you've ever been, done, seen, heard, and known, it's infinite. Yeah. And
and everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and really the best way to start with a lot of my clients, this is an exercise that we do. I'm like, I'll say, who is Sharon? Who is Sharon? Make me a list of who Sharon is. Like, what are your joys and where is your resistance? Start there, because resistance is huge. But then I tell them, like I tell you, what does your heart desire? What makes you light and fluttery and bright and happy and joyful? Make a list. Don't think about, oh, I can't be that. I can't do that. That's not, because you know what, the universe will bring it to you. It's like you put it out there and you start having a wanting and a desire. It's like you have to allow the river to flow to you, but you have to imagine it.
Yeah, I have to stop you for a moment because I want to share something with you. I probably have it somewhere, but But when I was not in the space that I am now, and I was in a marriage, I was married to a good man. My was-been. I don't like that word ex. It's too negative
I
for
like
me.
was-been.
Yeah, so my was-been was a really good man. We just shouldn't have been married. Mm-hmm. And we tried, to stick the square into the round hole and counseling and all of that for quite a while. And I don't think he would have ever made the decision, so I did. But one of the things that I find interesting is at that period in time, I said to him, I want you to write down everything that would bring you happiness and joy and share it with me so that I know. And I wrote down a whole list, I want to say it was 3 pages of, I love the mountains, I love hiking, I love the beach, I love sunshine, all of the things. I don't think that Jay ever read it. Mm. But what's interesting is that the friend who actually introduced us originally, way back when at their wedding, I shared it with him, and he read it. And he brought it up a couple of years later. I'm not married anymore, and Jay is remarried and hopefully very happy, and I wish them both the best, because all I've ever wanted for both of us, but all I've ever wanted for him was happiness. So if you're watching, happiness from my heart, my truth. But it was funny because after, things started changing in the divorce and all of that, John, my friend, brought it up a couple of years after. He says, well, remember this, and he had it. And this was somebody, I got to share real quick too, this was somebody I've known for many, many years. We dated, and in 6th grade, I broke up with him, or he broke up with me. We both have different versions of that. But Steve, he saves everything. He still has, remember the little notes that you'd pass back? I like you, do you like me, check yes or no? Mm-hmm. He still has that stuff. So, it's funny. But it was interesting because the reason I'm bringing it up is that was when I was going through a very big contrast moment in my life and trying to decide, who am I? Can I stay in this marriage? Will I be happy? And all in all, it was best for me and I believe for Jay that we didn't. But it started with a list like what you're talking about.
It's, how can you know who you are or what you desire unless you go and find, if you just keep it here in your head. Mm-hmm. Words are energy, thought is energy, written word is energy, and once it's created, it can't be destroyed. And it's kind of like you need to get it from here and here to here, so that it can start to go out and come to fruition, or just so that you can explore.
Yeah. And what do people say to you too? Because a lot of times people will say, oh, you should have been a counselor. Oh, you should have, what I mean? A lot of times people see things in you that you don't even recognize in yourself yet. So maybe what are some things that people have said, and see if that ties into some of the things that you're writing down.
Yeah. And it was always way back when, I was good at sales. Well, what is sales? It's a relationship. It's fixing somebody's. And it wasn't sell like I'm going to sell you, an appliance or something. It was, where's your pain? Let me help you fix it.
It's resolving the problem.
Yeah,
or helping them to find the resolve to the problem.
Tell me what's your pain, and I'll tell you what solution I have.
Yeah.
Well, now I just do it on a heart desire level, and so that list, and I got to tell you, my list changed. So, I worked at Leaving Corporate America for 4 years. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like I just jumped off the cliff. I had to tiptoe and look over and say, oh, not yet. I'm going back here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not brave enough yet, And it was more about, I'm not trusting because I think that paycheck that holds me captive. Yeah. So it was really about working that list and then starting to go out and feel what my heart desired, like what resonated. Do you know how when you do something that resonates with what your heart desires, it's like God bumps. It's like, oh, the angels come out and sing.
Yeah, and you said it. Feel. It's a feeling. It's
all feeling.
Fulfillment is meaningful. There's things like that. With some of the clients that I've worked with, I say, okay, describe your deserted island to me. So in other words, where are they? Because when they come to us, they're coming because there's a want, and they're not sure how to get to where they want to go, and that's what we both do, and many, many other people do it in different ways. So describe to me your island, you crashed, you're wrecked on this island. What is it missing? And then describe to me, what does paradise look like? What does an island of paradise look like to you? You know.
That's a good one.
And then I always say, I'm the captain of the boat that's going to get you from this island to that island.
Yeah.
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 So it ties two things, writing, like you said, and imagining. Imagining is huge.
It's
picturing.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know, John Lennon said, if you can imagine it, well, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. But, you know, his song Imagine is about all of that.
Yeah.
So it is all, you know, when we meditate, you know, when I meditate, in a sense, you know, it could be perceived as imagination. Mm-hmm. But imagination is about possibilities, mm-hmm. right? So that list is about possibilities, not about the box that you're in,
yeah.
not about the confines of what society says we have to be.
Yeah. And it can't come out of a place of fear.
No.
You can't be writing it out of a place of fear because you'll think too small.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be willing to take a risk. To kind of what Val was saying, this is the tiptoe. This is actually just the tiptoe. Yeah. You know, writing the list is part of the tiptoe.
It is. It is. And then starting to feel what you're writing, like going out and doing some of those things and starting to, you know, mine was about learning some things. Mm-hmm. You know, on my list was, I know that I'm good at this. Or this resonates, this feels good to me. I'm going to go explore it. Mm-hmm. And so it was, you know, taking some classes, yeah. you know, nights and weekends.
Had you ever had your own business before? Did you have to figure out, you know, a website, all of that?
No, I never. No, I always worked in corporate America.
Yeah, so you had to learn that.
I'm still learning that, but
that's because
you know,
Facebook keeps changing itself.
But you know, it's kind of like do what you do well.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm like. I honor somebody else's gift. I'm like, I'm gonna let that person do that because they do that well.
I agree with you.
You know, clients will come to me and they'll be like, I had a dream, and I'll be like, you know, dreams just aren't my shtick.
Yeah.
You know, but here's somebody who is, and I'm more than happy to refer you to them.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like be honest with what you do well,
mm-hmm.
and that's my biggest thing.
Yeah. So if you were gonna kind of lay it out for us, what areas do you work in now? What do you do well, and how did some of those things show up?
In the most synchronistic ways.
Yeah.
You know, I have the list. I do past life regression. Mm-hmm. I'm a Reiki master, so I do a lot of the healing of hand. Yes, bringing in the energy and healing.
Okay.
And I do shamanic Reiki. So I bring in the elements of the earth and the sky and everything for a little deeper healing.
Which I was blessed with going and doing a session with Val, and it was amazing. I'm local here in Sarasota, so I had the opportunity to do that, and we'll talk a little bit more at the end, but it was an amazing session on a multitude of levels. Because it was here, but it was just in the sense of my body itself too, and it's something that when you walk away with it, it's an ongoing thing. So in other words, because of what was brought up or talked about or kind of watered, so to speak, it's starting to grow. So little things will pop up, and I'll be like, oh, that ties back to my session with Val.
Yeah, it's all synchronistic, isn't it? I do a lot of that. But how this happened is I kept asking my guides. You know, I meditated a lot, and I'm like, show me what I'm supposed to do. Please just show me. And I was really on that search for show me how to do this. Mm-hmm. And one day this woman called from Michigan saying that she was going to teach a class and that she had gotten my business card from somebody who I met in a networking group, the chamber or something like that, from, you know, my corporate life. And I said, oh, what class are you teaching? And she said, well, I'm going to teach mediumship and channeling. And I'm like, I'm in, I'll trade you. So I have this big, beautiful boardroom and everything like that. So I traded her my space for class.
Wow.
And you know, after that, so I got certified as a channeler and a medium. And after that, it just kind of took off. But what is the likelihood? Like, how brilliant is it that I was looking for something, and this woman I don't know calls from Michigan.
Looking for something.
Yeah. The synchronicities.
Put the two of you together.
Yeah.
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 Lovely. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how and then once I did that, I started using those gifts, those things that I learned, nights, weekends. I practiced on my staff. They loved it. Some of my corporate clients would come to me. And so I did that for a couple of years because, we all have Judge Judy that sits on our shoulder and says, oh no, you're not good enough. You can't do that. Who are you to do that? And it's like, no, I'm going to find out who I am. Yeah. And so that was part of the journey also, is really coming into my power.
Yeah. I so cherish life. And because of that, because of some of the things that are have been part of my journey, it's like I was talking about it with somebody yesterday. Live it. It's life. Yeah. And if you don't live it, wow, it's like such this amazing gift that we've been given for a really short period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it. So you can either exist in it and be afraid of what somebody's going to say, or even your own mind is going to say to you. Or you can write a list about who you believe you are now, and maybe possibly who you'd like to be, how you'd like to enhance yourself and enhance your life, and then, tiptoe to the edge.
And that, channeling mediumship wasn't even on my list.
Yeah.
That's the just amazing thing.
Yeah.
But I do quite a bit of it. I do a lot of channeling and mediumship in my business. But it wasn't. And that's the other part of the trust. Open. Right, the trust. It's like I asked to show me, and this woman came in, and when she called me, it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to answer this.
Yeah.
It was just like, I got the chills, and so.
Well, and we discussed recently, because that was a good coming together. But we were also discussing that sometimes, and I think it was you were talking about possibly your boss or something, I can't remember what part of the conversation, but when you're uncomfortable, when you're like really uncomfortable in a space, like maybe you're going to work right now and you're really uncomfortable and you're getting into it with one particular person or whatever, and you said that those people, and maybe you've been asking for something different,
that was the resistance starting to come up. I was like, I started to drive. I had driven into the parking garage of my work for 6 years, la 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 la, and then it started to get like, oh God, I started thinking about calling in sick. Yeah. So that's not in vibrational harmony.
Yeah. If you don't jump out of bed and I mean, maybe not 3 feet off the ground, but I mean, you can wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to work.
But nothing was wrong with work. Yeah. I mean, I was at the top of my game. I was making bonuses, commissions. It was within me. And I started to get some sciatic problems sitting at work, and it got worse and worse, and I got resistance, and I'm like at the top of my game, but my boss is micromanaging me, and I'm like, so I go and I meditate, and I'm like, why? And it's like, because it's time to go, or you're going to end up miserable, sick, unhappy, and stuck. Yeah. And it will diminish your light.
Yeah, one of my other previous guests, Lauren Mitchell, she's a local singer, songwriter. She's amazing. And she said the same thing. She was at her job, and she had just gotten a raise, and she was the manager, and her boss came and fired her, and out of the blue. And at first, she was like, what? I'm like fired? And he goes, you are miserable. You are. It took him coming to her and saying, I see you, and there's so much more to you. She didn't see it until after, and it settled in and stuff. But how do you feel about, when we're talking about writing things down, I think the clarity is such a big thing. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they've been, talking about, I want steroids, steroids, which I think is a terrible drug. But not terrible, it's got its space, but... so anyway, they got bursitis. So guess what? They got prescribed prednisone, which has a steroid in it. I'm like, you were asking for it, so now you got bursitis, so you got your steroid.
Well, what I mean? Yeah. Well, I tell my clients, your biography, the story that you're telling, becomes your biology. Yeah. You know what? I was getting disharmony, and then I was getting all that sciatic, and if I kept telling that story. I was down a road for, you know, not good.
Yeah.
5 years. I mean, like, to think about 10 years. Yeah, it's kind of like, be careful, be careful.
Yeah, and be really clear on what it is that you want. You know?
And in the beginning, it's just not being clear. It's just like allowing the possibilities to come, like that phone call that came to me. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And there's so many. I mean, we could talk for hours about the synchronicities that are just, gosh, I could make lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a list.
You know,
So it starts with
It does.
And
You have to get it from here to here.
Yeah.
It's
And then
really,
and then that's key. You have eyes. Everybody has eyes, but not everybody sees.
Yeah.
There is a difference. So when if you're serious about this and where you want to go, and that there's something inside of you that wants to move in a different direction, make a list. Reach out. I mean, Val, we're gonna have some information on the website under the guest bios, and she's got all of these ways to help people kind of get in touch with who they are and what it is that they're going for. And like I said, I experienced part of it, but you also have some locally here and some classes elsewhere.
I have meditation classes. You know, it's a great way to go. You know, find your peace, find your space, what your heart desires, quiet the monkey chatter. And so I have some meditation classes here in Sarasota in May. I'm teaching meditation classes in Montana, Seattle, and Denver, you know, throughout. And there's a list on my website. It's a series.
Yeah.
And I am getting ready to teach an intuitive development class.
Oh, wonderful.
I know.
Oh, I might want to have to scope that one out.
Yeah.
But again, we'll have that information on the site, and then we'll link back to your website. So if you come to our site, you'll be able to find Val, and then reach out to her. You know, you can go to her site and find out how to get in touch with her. And thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
And you are an inspiration in a multitude of ways. Just this, the bubble, the happiness. You know what I mean? It's a breath of fresh air when you come into a room, and that right in itself inspires people, let alone breaking out of the box and tuning into what you want. And again, we always say here, embrace the journey, because when you do, life becomes absolutely amazing.
It does.
Bye now.
Bye.